The train station was a kaleidoscope of chaos, hundreds of people weaving through each other, their voices a tangled roar of laughter, shouts, and suitcase wheels clattering against the tile floor. It was Christmas Eve, and the air buzzed with holiday warmth. Families reuniting, couples clutching hands, children tugging at overstuffed gift bags. But there I stood, alone in the heart of it all, my breath fogging in the cold, a lukewarm coffee cup my only companion. I wasn't just alone. I felt like a ghost, invisible in a world bursting with connection. Have you ever been surrounded by a sea of people, yet felt so isolated it hurt to breathe? That moment wasn't just lonely, it was a wake-up call, a crack in the life I'd built, forcing me to face the solitude I'd spent years running from. What if the loneliness you dread isn't a flaw but a doorway? What if, instead of fleeing solitude, you could embrace it like a genius, like Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher who saw it as the cradle of individuality and strength? What if the quiet you've been avoiding holds the secret to becoming your truest, most powerful self? Let me take you back to a winter night in 2020, when I was 28, living in a shoebox apartment in Chicago's West Loop. My life was a blur of ambition, late nights at the office, networking events that left me drained, and a social calendar packed with people I barely knew. I thought I was winning at life. My family, back in Ohio, felt like a distant memory. My mom would text, "When are you coming home?" And I'd fire back, "Soon, Mom." Work's insane, but soon never came. One night, after a particularly hollow happy hour, I stumbled into my dark apartment, the silence so heavy it felt like a physical weight. I collapsed onto my couch, scrolling through Instagram, watching everyone else's lives unfold. Families gathered around dinner tables, friends toasting at holiday parties. And there I was, alone, with a gnawing ache in my chest. Regret hit me like a punch. I'd been so busy chasing success that I'd lost touch with myself and the people who mattered most. The next day, wandering through a used bookstore to escape my thoughts, I found a worn copy of Arthur Schopenhauer's Essays and Aphorisms. I'd never heard of him, but the title intrigued me. Back home, I cracked it open, and his words stopped me cold. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. It was like he was speaking directly to me. I'd spent my life equating solitude with failure, filling every moment with noise to avoid it. But Schopenhauer saw solitude as a gift, a space to discover your true self, unshackled by the world's demands. That night, I made a choice. I'd stop running from the quiet and start listening to it. Schopenhauer, a 19th century German philosopher, wasn't exactly a ray of sunshine. He was a curmudgeon, famously pessimistic, but his ideas about solitude were revolutionary. He believed that true individuality, your unique spark, your genius, can only flourish when you step away from the crowd. "The man who goes alone can start today," he wrote, "but he who travels with another must wait till that other is ready." For Schopenhauer, solitude wasn't about rejecting people. It was about protecting your inner world from being drowned out by others' expectations. In a culture obsessed with connection, think social media, group chats, 24/7 hustle, his words felt like a rebellion. I started small, carving out pockets of solitude in my overstuffed life. I turned off my phone for an hour each evening. No notifications, no scrolling, just me and a notebook. At first, it was excruciating. My mind was a tornado of regrets. Missed family vacations, friendships I'd let fade, the time I brushed off my dad's call because I was too busy. But slowly, the chaos settled. In the silence, I started to hear myself. I remembered how much I loved painting as a kid, how I'd spend hours blending colors, lost in my own world. So, I bought a cheap watercolor set and a sketch pad. The first brushstroke felt like coming home. Alone in my apartment, I wasn't lonely, I was free. Solitude became my teacher. Schopenhauer wrote that great minds need space to think, to create, to be. He wasn't saying you should live like a monk, but that you need moments of quiet to connect with your inner compass. For me, that meant rediscovering parts of myself I'd buried. I started journaling, not just to-do lists, but raw, unfiltered thoughts. One night, I wrote about a memory I hadn't thought of in years, sitting on my grandma's porch, eating her homemade peach cobbler, listening to her stories about growing up in the 50s. That memory sparked something. I realized I'd been so focused on building a big life that I'd forgotten the small moments that made me whole. I began experimenting with solitude in new ways. I'd take long walks along Lake Michigan. No headphones, just the sound of waves and my own thoughts. I'd sit in coffee shops, not to work, but to people watch and reflect. Schopenhauer said, "Solitude is the nurse of enthusiasm, and enthusiasm is the true source of genius." Those quiet moments fueled my creativity. I started painting more, landscapes, portraits, abstract swirls of color that felt like my soul on paper. I wasn't Picasso, but I didn't need to be. I was creating for me, and that was enough. Regret. The deeper I leaned into solitude, the more I confronted the regrets I'd ignored. I thought about my family, my mom's warm hugs, my dad's corny jokes, my sister's knack for making me laugh until I couldn't breathe. I'd taken them for granted, always assuming they'd be there when I was ready. One memory haunted me, my mom's 60th birthday. I'd promised to fly home to Ohio, but a last-minute client meeting kept me in Chicago. I sent a fancy gift basket and a card, thinking it was enough. But in the quiet of my solitude, I saw her face, smiling through disappointment, telling me over the phone, "It's okay, honey. I know you're busy." That regret was a knife, sharp and relentless. I'd chosen ambition over love, and it hurt to admit it. Love. But solitude didn't just unearth pain, it rekindled love. In those quiet hours, I started writing letters to my family, not emails, but real, handwritten notes on creamy stationery. I told my mom how her strength, raising me and my sister alone after Dad's job took him across the country, inspired me every day. I wrote to my dad about the time he taught me to ride a bike, how I could still feel his hand on my back, steadying me. I sent my sister a goofy drawing of us as kids, building a snowman that looked more like a blob. These weren't grand gestures, but they came from a place of truth I'd only found in solitude. One Sunday, my mom called, her voice thick with tears. "I got your letter," she said. "I didn't know you remembered all those things." We talked for hours, about nothing and everything, her garden, my paintings, the way she still missed Grandma's cobbler. That conversation was a lifeline, a reminder that love doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be real. Solitude hadn't pushed me away from my family, it had brought me closer, because it helped me see what truly mattered. Regret, again. Even as I reconnected, another wave of regret crashed over me. I thought about the years I'd wasted, chasing likes and promotions while my family waited patiently. I remembered my grandma, who'd passed away 2 years earlier. I'd always meant to visit more, to call her and hear her stories again, but I was too busy. The last time we spoke, she'd said, "Don't work too hard, sweetheart. Life's short." I brushed it off, promising to call soon. I never did. That loss felt like a hole I couldn't fill, a reminder of Schopenhauer's warning. Life is fleeting, and we must seize our moments of clarity before it's too late. Healing. But solitude became my refuge, my path to healing. Schopenhauer wrote that true strength comes from accepting your flaws and finding peace within. In the quiet, I learned to forgive myself. I couldn't undo the missed calls or lost time, but I could choose differently now. I started calling my family every Sunday, no matter what. I painted a portrait of my grandma, her warm eyes, her gentle smile, captured in soft blues and golds. It felt like a conversation with her, a way to honor her memory. Solitude taught me to hold space for both grief and growth, to let regret fuel love instead of despair. It was like planting a seed in cracked soil. Slowly, steadily, something beautiful began to grow. One night, as I sat painting under the glow of a single lamp, my apartment filled with the scent of coffee and turpentine, I realized I wasn't just surviving solitude, I was thriving in it. Schopenhauer was right. Solitude is where you become yourself. It's where you strip away the masks you wear for the world and meet the person you're meant to be. I felt a rush of gratitude for my family, for my own resilience, for the quiet that had become my sanctuary. My paintings weren't just art, they were pieces of my soul, proof that I was enough, just as I was. It was an emotional high, a moment of pure clarity, like standing on a mountaintop after a long, grueling climb. Schopenhauer's philosophy isn't about rejecting the world, it's about balance. He believed that geniuses, from poets to scientists, need solitude to hone their craft, to hear their own voice. But he also knew humans are social creatures. The trick is to use solitude to strengthen your individuality, so you can bring your best self to the people you love. For me, that meant rediscovering my creativity, rebuilding my family ties, and learning to cherish both the quiet and the connection. He wrote, "The more a man has in himself, the less he will want from other people." In solitude, I found that inner wealth. I didn't need a packed social calendar or a corner office to feel whole. I needed my thoughts, my paintbrush, and the love of my family, things I'd overlooked in my race to succeed. Schopenhauer's ideas gave me permission to slow down, to value my own company, and to approach life with intention. Practical steps for embracing solitude. If you're ready to try solitude, start small. Here are a few ways I learned to make it work. Create a quiet hour. Set aside 1 hour a day with no phone, no TV, just you. Write, draw, or simply sit with your thoughts. It's uncomfortable at first, but it's where the magic happens. Reflect on what matters. Use solitude to ask yourself, what do I love? What do I regret? What do I want to change? Journaling helped me process these questions. Reconnect with creativity. Pick up an old hobby or try something new, painting, writing, gardening. Schopenhauer believed creativity is born in solitude. Reach out with intention. Use the clarity of solitude to strengthen your relationships. Write a letter, make a call, or share a memory with someone you love. Schopenhauer's ideas resonate through history. Think of Emily Dickinson, who wrote her brilliant poetry in the quiet of her Amherst bedroom, or Nikola Tesla, whose groundbreaking inventions came from solitary hours of thought. They didn't shun the world, but they knew the value of retreating into themselves. Solitude gave them the space to create, to dream, to become the geniuses we admire. Like them, we can use solitude to tap into our own potential, to find the spark that makes us unique. Embracing solitude didn't make me a genius in the history book sense, but it made me a better version of myself. It taught me to listen to my heart, to cherish my family, and to find joy in my own company. Schopenhauer's secret isn't about living alone. It's about living authentically, using solitude to fuel your creativity and deepen your connections. It's about finding the courage to be yourself, even when the world tells you to keep running. If you've ever felt that pang of loneliness, or if you've been avoiding the quiet like I was, try this. Give yourself 1 hour alone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. See what you discover about yourself. And if this story touched you, if it reminded you of someone you love, reach out to them. Share a memory, a laugh, a moment. Cherish your loved ones while you still can. They're the heartbeat of your story, just as mine are for me.